Having seen after a very long time a class full of young, vibrant, talented students, Times of India used to run a column of witty repartee, exchange of comments. India was known for its soft power since perhaps why did they want to locate India? Where exactly India is? After the Second World War, people had realized the limitations of military might, and that the Prime Minister also said that this is not the age of war when he was commenting on Ukraine and Russia conflict. Therefore, our culture, our identity are the key ingredients of the concept of soft power.
Good evening to one and all. Good. Let us start this Vaja Be Vaja by lighting the lamp. I request Sir Shubhra ma'am to come and light the lamp to start and mark the beginning of today's session. Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe. He is regarded as one of the most or foremost intellectuals from the BJP, the ruling party of India. He is also the current president of ICCR, that is Indian Council of Cultural Relations, from January 2018 onwards. He was the member of parliament in Rajya Sabha from 2016 to 2022, was nominated as the member of Library Committee of Parliament, member of Business Advisory Committee, member of Choir Board, member of the General Body of ICWA, and also, okay, sir, and also the member of Code. There's one important point that I want to mention, sir, that is he was the National Vice President of BJP from 2014 to 2020. And with this, I would ask Shubhra ma'am to give a token of flowers to welcome him to Shubhra Ranjan IS. So, I would just like to take a moment to introduce a book written by Dr. Sahasrabuddhe on which is titled The Innovation Republic. It's a fantastic read on the key governance innovations that has been taken under PM Modi and how it has basically strengthened the democracy that we are in currently. With this, Shubhra ma'am, would you like to introduce the Shubhra ma'am, you wanted to introduce the topic for today? Right. Ma'am, over to you.
I'm sure you would be knowing that what are we gathered here for. We are gathered here to discuss on the topic India's soft power, exploring the cultural horizon of India's foreign policy. It is under the working group of preservation and conservation of traditional arts, crafts, and culture, traditional and innovative ways of livelihood. You would be wondering, where does craft come from? So craft, of course, it has been a very major part. It has been since ages that it has been creating affinity between the two countries, between the international boundaries. Before we start the discussion, it's important to know the relevance, the need. As India assumed the G20 presidency, it will seek to emerge as the voice of the global South and work to depoliticize the global supply of food, fertilizers, and medical products. As you all know that India is hosting G20 summit this year. I think everybody would be aware of, you would be seeing the beautiful logo, Earth on the lotus. So this logo is not created just like that. It has some relevance. That I would like to explain it to you. The G20 is a diverse platform that seeks to forge common ground on key issues among prominent countries. Our endeavor is to make that consensus more relevant through a wider process of consultation. As the mother of democracy, India's G20 presidency will be consultative, it will be collaborative, and it will be decisive. That's what we are gathered here for. And after this session goes over, there will be a question-answer round, and then you can ask the questions from Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe ji. On November 8, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji launched the logo, the website, and theme for India's presidency of the G20, setting the tone for the country's G20 presidency beginning December 1. Modi's clarion call was one earth, one family, one future. It aptly underscored by the phrase Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Apart from the national flag's colors, the logo depicts a locust with 7 petals on which symbolically rests the earth, which you would have seen everywhere, its oceans, and the 7 continents signaling a pro-planet approach. Modi ji drove home the point that India's presidency will transcend the limitations of geography and categories to encompass the whole world, leaving none behind. India will work to deliver global goods as a voice for the global south. The lotus, a symbol of purity and resilience, suggests hope that the global community will overcome the debilitating economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Understanding the importance of traditional crafts, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has been consistently focusing on vocal for local to make a new self-reliant India. You would be seeing that whenever some festival comes or otherwise, yesterday was Adi Mahotsav, so he keeps telling everybody to be vocal for the local products, the handicrafts and the handlooms which India cherishes. We can frequently witness a PM wearing handloom products, gifting handicraft items. If you would have been going through the newspapers, I'm sure you would have been going through, he has gifted a lot of handicraft items to the G20 countries, the dignitaries. There was metal lota kind of a thing, which was given by Honorable PM to German dignitary as a gift from India, from Muradabad. He's Dilshad Hussain. He has recently got Padma Shri. The very same way, there had been a lot of handicrafts, something from, it was black pottery from Azamgarh, a small place in Nizamabad. So he has been promoting Indian handicrafts to establish soft power itself, to create the affinity between the two countries towards ourselves. And in fact, I think you would have gone through the current budget as well. In the current budget as well, artisans and craftsmen have been given weightage, and there is one scheme which has been added. Does somebody know that scheme? Vishwakarma Shram Samman Yojana. Vishwakarma Shram Samman Yojana is dedicated to the craftsmen. It's dedicated to the people like plumbers, somebody who is a carpenter, somebody who is an electrician. So the weightage has been given in the budget itself. Let me tell you, it is not a new concept at all. It is an age-old tradition, phenomena, which had been impactful in establishing cross-cultural relations. It certainly has an impact on the growth of local, national, and global economies. To understand the anomaly, we will have to dig up past and rewind ourselves. I'm sure it will be an eye-opener for all of you. Our crafts and textiles are closely webbed with the history. Arab merchants carried Indian trading goods to Constantinople. I think the students who have been reading history would be knowing the Silk Route which we had, how Roman wives were very crazy about the ikat fabric we had, that the Roman Senate had to pass a law that they will not be buying, the royal wives will not be buying more and more of the Indian fabric because their wealth was coming to India. So that's that shows that how popular Indian handicraft and handlooms was there with the Western countries. The oldest and the most traversed sea route from the last 2 millennia is the Indian Ocean, and the consumption of textiles in the medieval period was by both the elite and the working class. Textiles were not only being used for apparel purposes, but also had an important role to play in the domain of exchange of gifts, the way we are doing. So you can see and correlate that it is not a new concept, but yes, Honorable Prime Minister has revived it. And it was in the domain of exchange of gifts, rituals, and identity formation. India was at the center of Indian Ocean. Those who are reading geography, studying, they can understand what I'm trying to say, that how the route was established. Then the ports, there was the only way of transportation that was sea route. There were no aeroplanes. So they had been following the whole sea route, and India was blessed with that. The textile trade placed Bengal, Surat, Masulipatanam at the center of a complex network of changes. Indian textiles such as cotton, chintz, muslin, silk became prestigious items all around the Indian Ocean. The part of Surat connected India to the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. So now you can understand this soft culture and soft power is not just about international relations, but it is about economies, it is about geography as well. The ports of Masulipatanam and Hooghly, they fostered trade relations with the Southeast Asian ports, the Malabar coast, and its various ports such as Cochin, Calicut, Cananore, and Ennore traded with the Arabs and the Chinese. In the early 16th century, the region of Gujarat was a leading center for trade, cotton, and silk. So that way, of course, craft. I'm talking about craft because Honorable President ICCR is going to talk about how the international relationships are growing much and more stronger. And because our topic today was soft power and craft is also an important part of it. So I would like to hand on to Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe ji to talk more about us and he will enlighten us, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
So, thank you, Kshipraji, for creating a ground for me to say something about soft power. And thank you, ma'am, and all others who are members of the academic staff here, and my fellow young friends who are going to be the IAS officers of tomorrow. So, welcome to this session. Having seen after a very long time a class full of young, vibrant, talented students, I went back down the memory lane and I recalled my days in my Ruya college. I come from Mumbai. There are many people from Maharashtra, I am told. So, in our college, there used to be a professor who used to teach us English. And normally, as it happens, college students are known for not sitting in the class, but standing outside the class. So he used to call many such students as outstanding students. But I am seeing for the first time truly outstanding students within the classroom. So good to see that. And when there was no Twitter around or no Facebook or nothing like social media, Times of India used to run a column of witty repartee, exchange of comments. And in one such column, in good old days, some 20 years before maybe, I came across a comment which said that these days colleges have become so very crowded that if you want to have some loneliness, you have to go to the classroom. So from there, seeing such a wonderful gathering of students who are very aspirational, who have some dreams in their eyes, I really feel very happy and privileged. So thank you, ma'am. Now coming to the topic, Kshipraji has already told you and created some kind of a ground. But let me tell you that the subject of soft power, although in that particular, with that particular title, has come to us in the recent past, India was known for its soft power since perhaps several centuries. You know how people set out to locate India? When discovery of India happened, it was first of all Columbus and later on Vasco da Gama. Why did they want to locate India? Where exactly India is? Because due to the Constantinople war, there was shortage of Indian spices. And therefore they wanted to go to the very source of spices and locate that land, which was known as a spice producing land. So what are the spices? Spices are one of India's soft power. And therefore, the concept of soft power, which was first of all presented in a theory form kind of by Joseph Nye, who was that time the director of the Kennedy School of Government. And this was in 1999, and later on in 2004, his first book came, which is also of the same title, Soft Power. I'm sure you are aware. And the definition of soft power is something which is not coercive. After the Second World War, people had realized the limitations of military might because These are not the times fit for any kind of a war. It was not for no reason that the Prime Minister also said that this is not the age of war when he was commenting on Ukraine and Russia conflict. Because to occupy land forcibly through the military might is not something which is acceptable to the modern world. And therefore, countries decided in a way to influence the minds. Instead of occupying the geographical land and the geographical space, the countries, in a way, very strategically tried to influence the mind space. And various ways and means were put to use. One of them, of course, was all kinds of marketing strategies. And you know the influence of these things. If you go to Beijing or if you go to Tel Aviv in Israel, and at least that was my experience when I had the opportunity of visiting both these capital cities. In Beijing, I could not help but get an impression that perhaps I'm in a Mandarin America. Same way, when I visited Tel Aviv, I got the impression that I'm in a Hebrew America. The meaning, what I wanted to say is that everything is Americanized. You find at every round the corner there are McDonald's, there are Kentucky Fried Chicken, and so on and so forth. All kinds of American brands are present over there. So, except for the language, it's all America. Thankfully, when we go to the Connaught Circus here or the Hutatma Chowk, Flora Fountain in Mumbai, you don't end up with that impression thanks to our culture. And therefore, our culture, our identity are the key ingredients of the concept of soft power. Let us not forget. I'm sure some of you must have been students of sociology. Sociologists world over, earlier, and not just sociologists, but journalists especially, used to describe cities like New York or Mumbai as melting pot. No more. Today, the melting pot concept has taken a backseat, and journalists and especially sociologists, having realized the importance of identity, are using the term while describing such mega cities as salad bowls, where you have your original identity intact, at the same time, you're a part of a holistic identity, salad bowl. So the point I'm trying to make is that identity is not a primordial concept. It is something which provides you the raison d'etre for living in a society. The milieu in which you work, you grow, provides you your identity. It was okay for Shakespeare to say what is in name, but there is everything in name. If my name, which is Vinay, is wrongly spelled and somebody says it's Vijay, then I make it a point saying, oh no, not J, it's N. What is in name? Everything is in name. I may not get my Aadhaar card if I write it Vijay. So there are all kinds of practical difficulties, and they start with your very personal individual identity, which is your name. And then all other factors, the language, the area, the locality, the city, the district, the province, the country, everything. Vinoba Bhave said Jai Jagat. But it cannot happen from day one. You have to be somebody first, and then you are the citizen of the global community. And therefore, identity is critical. So when we talk about India's soft power, first of all, we also have to realize that there are some basics of India's soft power, which I would describe as fundamentals of soft power, which provide us the foundational understanding of our soft power. And what are these foundations? Firstly, it is our spiritual democracy. India is not just a political democracy. First and foremost, we are a spiritual democracy. When we enter into the parliament, there is an inscription above the chamber of the Rajya Sabha, which says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Truth is one, but the wise men describe it differently. This is the quintessential idea of India. In several other countries, you have ways of worship which say my way or highway. There are some ways of worship we say that ours is the only valid, all others are invalid. We never say so. And therefore, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, where we attach equal respect to all ways of worship, which is our spiritual democracy. Secondly, our idea of unity of our diversity. Normally it is said unity in diversity. But the essential element of diversity which we realize in India is that basically we are one. But this oneness is manifested through diverse forms, figures, motives, and everything. Many of you are speaking different languages. Some of you might be Bengali, some of you might be Marathi, Gujarati, of course Hindi and whatnot. And you must have realized that most Indian languages have similar kinds of proverbs and sayings. Naach na aaye aangan tedha. There are similar kinds of sayings in other languages. Why? This was not the Department of Languages which issued a GR that coin similar kinds of languages. This is the rule under Ordinance XYZ. No. We think in a similar way, which is why our articulations are similar. So we are one. Only thing is that the languages are diverse. And this is practically applicable to various other areas as well. Our festivals. When we celebrate Baisakhi, people celebrate Gudi Padwa, Ugadi, Bihu. Same time zone. Because we are essentially one, but this oneness is manifested in a different form, which is why diversity. The third important thing of India's soft power is our idea of Antyodaya, which is the most deprived should be considered as the most deserving when it comes to distribution of the fruits of development. Globally today, there is still that binary, socialism or capitalism. There are merits and demerits of both. But we have gone beyond that binary. We know that unless and until we do justice to the last man in the queue, we cannot have a peaceful life. So the most deprived is the most deserved. That is the principle of Antyodaya, Anta Udaya. I think it's not very difficult to understand. The other important feature is our culture tells us to worship Mother Nature. There are belief systems which talk about conquest of nature. We never. We talk about, in a way, coordination with nature, confluence with Mother Nature. There are many people in our families also, I'm sure you would recall, of the older generation especially, who start their day by seeking forgiveness of Mother Earth, Padasparsham Kshamasvame. Mother Earth, I am now going to put my feet on you, please forgive me. What exactly does this talk about? It talks about our sense of gratitude towards Mother Nature. We are not in competition with nature. And the last and important thing is our idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, world is one family. And remember, family is the epitome of our relationships. I mean, world is one housing society. One could have said it that way as well. World is one classroom. One could have said it that way as well. But no, our scriptures tell us Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Kutumba, family, is the fundamental unit of our society, where we relate and see the beauty of our family system. We don't have just cousins and aunts. We have Chachera Bhai, Mamera Bhai. We have Chachi, Mami, so on and so forth. So we respect every individual relationship, but within the family. So we respect individuality, we respect collectivism. All these things provide a bedrock which is essentially philosophical to India's soft power. So the point I'm trying to make is India's soft power is not just about dance and music, cinema. Of course, they are important, no doubt about it. Our Sanskrit language, our scriptures, Upanishad, Rigveda, all the Vedas for that matter, and other scriptures as well, including Bhagavad Gita. In 2018, the president of Iran had visited India. He met with the prime minister. And he shared with him that perhaps Indians are aware that Maharshi Panini, the sage, is one of the common linkages between Iran and India because Panini is the grammarian who created the linguistic structure of Persian and also Sanskrit. So we should do something to commemorate Panini and his contribution. So Indian Council for Cultural Relations organized a 2-day conference with the help of University of Tehran. And as president, I was there. So while discussing with the vice chancellor of the Tehran University, he told me and also asked me while saying that, sir, in the Tehran University, we teach Upanishad. Tell me in which Indian university Upanishad is being taught. I had no immediate answer. Our Ramayana and Mahabharata, a huge treasure of our soft power. There are countries that are influenced by Ramayana and Mahabharata. I'm sure you are aware the kind of sculptures that are there at the Bangkok airport or the name of Indonesian airline. Number of examples. At the ICCR, every year we organize a Ramayana festival. And troops come from all the Southeast Asian countries, from Burma, from Myanmar, Ceylon, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, Indonesia, all countries. Once, maybe 3 years before, our office also sent an invitation to the government of Brunei. You know Brunei? Oil-rich, wealthy nation, but 100% Islamic. So there was discussion in our office whether it was the right thing to invite them because they are adherents 100% of Islam. So how would they send a troop? But then invitation had already gone. And happily they sent a troop. And they presented a scintillating performance, a colorful performance of Jatayu Vadha, a story in the Ramayana. I'm sure you're familiar. And after the performance happened and there was a round applause, so some of our officials talked to them, congratulating. They said, we were a little apprehensive whether you will send a troop or not. They said, why? Because you are a 100% Islamic country. The head of the cultural troop, with a smiling face, told our officials, you are making a mistake. We have changed our religion, not our culture. This is the beauty of our culture. This is the importance of our culture. And therefore, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Sanskrit, our dances, our music. You know, maybe you are aware that Indian classical music and especially our string instruments are extremely popular world over. In Miraj, in Maharashtra, the manufacturers of string instruments, it's basically a handicraft. So these are all artisans. And they were telling me that if they manufacture some 100 instruments every year, 75 of them are exported. They go to London, primarily in Europe, and in New Jersey area of America. Earlier, ICCR used to send only the artists abroad. Now, on their demand, because sending an instrument, a tanpura or a sitar or anything of that kind is not enough. There are maintenance issues and they don't have any facility to maintain those things or take care of maintenance related issues. So now we have taken a policy decision and a group of artisans will now be visiting London and New Jersey in this year. This is the strength of our soft power. Take the example of our culinary and cuisine traditions. In all over the world, there won't be a single capital of a country where you will not find an Indian restaurant making a brisk business. Everywhere Indian food is extremely popular. And maybe you are aware that many of our neighboring country people, they also say Indian restaurant. Because that is something which only sells. Today, if they put the name of their own nation, I wonder whether anybody would go there or not. So that is the beauty and that is the attraction of Indian food. We have decided to recognize such owners of restaurants and eateries with an Annapurna award who are doing a good business, serving authentic food and taking care of all regional varieties as well. Not just South Indian or Punjabi food, but also maybe Assamese, Bengali, Gujarati, Marathi or whatever. It is required. Similarly, all our as Kshipraji was telling, our traditional arts and crafts, they are also a part of our soft power. Our craftsmen, bamboo, wooden toys, or metal, work of using metal, all kinds of metal for that matter, creating works of art which you can showcase. So all these people are also essentially contributing to India's soft power. Our temple architecture, important. Our yoga and Ayurveda, I don't think I require to elaborate about that. There are people who are practicing and making brisk business on the basis of their knowledge of Ayurveda in several countries. There are Ayurveda acharyas in Italy as well and several other countries. So this is the treasure of soft power which our civilizational culture has handed over to us. Now it is upon us to recognize the importance of this soft power, to respect our soft power and to contribute to this soft power. And there comes the challenge. Because many a times what is realized that Indians who stay abroad or Indians who visit foreign countries do not disseminate that message of one India. Many people say that India is like a Kirana shop. You get all kinds of things, but you don't get an Indian. Like in Kirana shop, you don't get, if you go and ask for 2 kilo of Kirana, I'm sure the shop owner would be amused. So likewise, we go with our social identities, our regional linguistic identities, but our national identity is supreme, and that we need to showcase, which rarely happens. And therefore, soft power is too important a subject to be left to the government alone. It is for all of us to realize the importance of soft power. And as I said, before I conclude, let me revisit that particular point, that relationship dynamics that we have in India, it's something very critical and it is central to the idea of soft power. I'll tell you a story of an Indian teacher who worked in an American school. A friend of mine, earlier he used to teach here and later on went to America and started teaching over there. So when we met after 10-15 years, we had a good conversation and I asked him, what is the difference between Indian students and students over here? And you know the American ideas of privacy, private space and all those things, so the student was extremely reluctant. But after all, the teacher was an Indian person. So he was very keen. Somehow I will try to get to know why this boy is sleeping. What is his problem? So finally the student gave up. And over a cup of coffee, he had a conversation. And in the conversation, the student told him, sir, there is a problem in my family. My mother has now brought a new father for me. So this new father of mine doesn't want me to be a part of the house. And therefore he is forcing me to find some accommodation in some hostel or somewhere else, or maybe a studio apartment or court basis sharing or whatever. So after so many quarrels between both of us, finally I have given up, and I have promised him that within 6 months I'll find some accommodation for me and I will leave this house. But I don't have money. So I have decided and I have started working in a McDonald's shop between 10 in the night and 3 o'clock in the morning. So naturally, when I come back home and go to bed, it is 4 o'clock. So even though I desire not to sleep, not to doze in the classroom, it is humanly impossible for me. So I come and attend the classes, but unfortunately, I cannot keep myself awake, which is why I am sleeping. But he ended the conversation saying, "Sir, I understand that you are from India. And since you are from India, you wanted to go to root cause of why your pupil is sleeping. What is my problem?" He said, "Sir, no American teacher will probe the way you have probed because you have that." So this is the teacher-taught relationship, Guru-Shishya Parampara as what we call. And therefore, all these things, as you would understand, form a part of India's soft power. But unfortunately, and let me come to the last part of my presentation, we in India, and especially those who are the opinion makers and the elites, do not understand this. And let me share with you a quotation from Mark Tully's No Full Stops in India. Have you heard of this book? Any one of you have read this book? I would, with folded hands, request you, go to any library, get a copy of this book. It may be out of print because it's an old book. The book's title is No Full Stops in India. And in a very telling comment, Mark Tully says, and please pay attention, this is the last thing I am going to share with you. The characteristic genius of the human mind is not to shake the beliefs of the common man, but to lead them by stages to the understanding of the deeper philosophical meaning behind their beliefs. I hope clear. Don't destroy the beliefs. Try to evolve an understanding of the beliefs. But the Western world and the Indian elite who emulate it, Indian elite who emulate the Western world, ignore the genius of Indian mind. They want to write a full stop in a land where there are no full stops. Thank you. Because of our ignorance and our being kind of apathetic to most of these things. Well, that is a matter of deeper sociological analysis. Why did we forget this? But we were meant to forget in a way. Not that there were no kind of scholars who had studied this. Even today there are scholars around, but we don't know. And unfortunately, we don't know that we don't know. That is the tragic part of it. No, we need to be alert to this. We need to be aware about this, and we need to be promoting this. After all, we are Indians. And when the idea of India comes to anybody's mind, all these things come up. It's not just, as I said, our culinary cuisine, our whatever vada pav and things like that. That is okay. But India is about all these things which you are mentioning. That, first of all, we need to realize. Yeah, another question?
So my question is, where does India stand in soft power promotion with respect to China? For example, China has institutes like Confucius Institutes.
China, of course, is sadly way ahead. But it is because of the mystery that is around China. Even their Confucius Institute attempts are not successful. In several countries, Confucius Institutes are closing down because they are not finding takers. They have to market it in a very artificial manner. Whereas Indian culture has its own charm. And people, why? They want to understand. There is one Kalbelia dance in Rajasthan. It's a folk dance. And there is a Kalbelia dance, dance artist, I would say, a lady in a village. Recently, she got Padma Shri under Narendra Modi ji's People's Padma, couple of years back. During the COVID time, she conducted online Kalbelia classes and more than 300 French persons attended those classes and paid her 1,000 rupees per class. Can you imagine? So this is the charm of Indian art and Indian craft and Indian dances and Indian music. We don't understand it. If you go to Samarkand in Uzbekistan or Bukhara University, I had the opportunity of going there. The entire Indian delegation was received by a band which was playing Avara हूं, मगर हम ही जानते नहीं.
Good evening, sir. Sir, as you mentioned that culture is important part of lifestyle with multi-dimensional aspect, politics, society and economics. But sir, in your dialogue, the light on the culture aspect was dimmed towards the education system. And sir, what should be added in the new education policy by the current government to empower the cultural importance of our country?
I'm happy that the current government has been doing a lot to have that cultural component restored in our syllabus and everything. So soon you will realize that a student of engineering is also a Bharatanatyam student and he is getting some credits for his Bharatanatyam proficiency as well.
Good evening, sir. My name is Yashwant Swami. Sir, there is a saying that whoever will become the president of America, the America will be great and remain great. So, in Indian context, yes, the soft power of India is increasing. But I see somewhere it is very monocausal, and one of the only cause is somewhere the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I want to ask that what this government and Prime Minister Modi is doing to make Indian constitution enough strong that the leadership will sustain and whoever will become the Prime Minister of India, this influence of India will remain enough there in the international context.
See, our constitution is not a moribund thing. It is an evolving document and many amendments have happened, many amendments will happen. So I am happy most of the governments, including of course the current government, is alert to the emerging needs of the constitutional amendments wherever they are required. So they are doing it. So fault is not with the constitution. It may be with the social approach, with the way we look at our past, which normally we have a habit to denigrate ourselves. There is a fashion to indulge in self-flagellation, which is not required. We should take legitimate pride in what we are. It need not be jingoism, but pride, yes, of course, it is required. So if that is restored, and I am happy this government is doing that, things will definitely take a new course. Yeah, ma'am, you were asking something.
So, sir, actually, I wanted to bring the Vishwaguru concept, that India is the spiritual Vishwaguru. That's what we are talking. So, actually, sir, I wanted to ask you about this idea of Vishwaguru, and how do you see the soft power coming in that?
Well, it is more of a matter of saying that India can perhaps show the way, India can lead, which is true. But at the same time, just by saying ourselves Vishwaguru, we are not going to become a Vishwaguru. We have to earn that status. And for that, all of us will have to work hard. I am talking about traditional art and culture. What about the work culture? I mean, these people are going to become IS and IPS and IFS, whatever. So they will have to amend, they will have to change the work culture. They will have to shape more productive and result-oriented ways of functioning. If that is done, I'm sure it will be only a matter of some years to become a Vishwaguru. Global community is looking at us, and let me tell you, I am not saying this for the sake of saying or to make you feel happy. I was recently in a Southeast Asian country, and a senior minister of that country told me that we have a feeling that Bharat Mata has abandoned us. And he said what he didn't say, that you have pushed us into the lap of our northern neighbor. So whose fault is this? It is our fault. We need to recognize and we need to value friendship with G20. Not for no reason we are celebrating it. Our relationship with all these countries is extremely critical because they also expect lot many things from India. Whole world is struggling. Family systems are under tremendous pressure. Social tensions, immigration. They are talking about multiculturalism and still not able to solve the puzzle. Multiculturalism is right here in the blood of Indians. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. We never quarrel over that.
Incredible India, we are promoting tourism. So how about of power can involve our tourism at the international level because we want to become a tourist country. So how we can use this soft power as a tourist destination?
Well, even if we, and we means basically all our younger people, refrain from writing about your visit to, let's say, the fort of Jhansi or the caves of Ellora, that XYZ visited this place on such and such day, and also X loves Y, and that even if we shed all the refrain from these very bad habits and respect our own monuments and try to conserve and preserve our heritage sites, I'm sure things will dramatically change. We have to take care of it. We are unmindful, we are unaware, we are ignorant. And as I said, sadly, we don't know that we don't know. So let us put a full stop to this.
Sir, you mentioned that in Tehran University, Upanishad are taught. And in past also many foreign travelers like Yun Sang visited India. So today, in the present context, how we can enhance our education system, which we have lost, like Ramayana, Mahabharata.
New education policy provides you all the answers. So thank you, friends. Thank you very much. It was pleasure talking to you.